Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
That's it. That's all you guys get. There's no. It's been so long since I came up with the concept for this show that I never got around to making a special intro for it. So all you guys
to think what that intro will be in the end, though.
No, it'll be legitimate. But just at the very end, I might have an anime girl making her little anime arousal sound at the very end. I'm not gonna. I am not gonna let that. I'm not gonna make that sound. That ain't getting clipped. That ain't happening. Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Nerdgasm. It's been a long time since we got this one out, and clearly we're a little short-handed tonight because people who are hoping would be here, real life got in the way. And if I sound a little just tired, I just spent an hour cleaning up a storm of broken glass in my kitchen everywhere. So I'm a little just, you understand. If you know what it's like to break, just went everywhere. I was happy I didn't get hurt. Either way, so we're here. Hi, Jed, you're here. How you doing today? I got no weird.
I'm doing great. We really don't stream together enough, so no. I'm glad we're taking this opportunity to spend some time together. Ginger and the Jew reunited. It is weird that no one else is here though, because TNG is just that fucking good. I imagine everyone would be lining up to be a part of this panel.
Well, here's the thing: a lot of our usuals are not into Star Trek. Some of them might be still at work. Some of them were gonna be here, but things got in the way. And then Sam is late. So Sam will be here. I'm going to double check my DMs. Sam has not said he's not going to be here, so he will probably catch up. But either way, welcome everybody. If you're just chilling out here, we're happy to have you guys. And this show is meant to be this show was created to balance out a lot of the critical analysis that we do in our line of YouTube work here, where we go after stuff that we hate. We go after the damage. So this show was created to take a moment, step back, and appreciate the things before they were damaged in a lot of cases. And tonight, due to the vote, and of course, the voting, this is how Nerdgasm is going to work from now on every month. It's in your hands, chat. It is in your hands. Every month, on basically the night of the new episode, a new poll will go out. You guys can go over there, and it'll be up there at this point. It's going to be for about 3 or 4 weeks right now. So you guys got 3 or 4 weeks to vote on next month's Nerdgasm, which will be either Farscape, James Bond, Pokemon, or what was the last one? Shit, I don't remember. The poll is there. I told you, brain shot. I'm seeing broken glass everywhere in my head right now. But if you go there, you check it out, go vote on it.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Yes, I knew it was important. Doctor Who.
That's about the only one I'd probably be on, too. So I don't know if I'll be there next month.
Yeah. Listen, you never know who you get when we do these things. And hopefully I get them doing this. I get people lined up for this. And no, this is Adam only stream. This is not a simulcast stream because this is one of my projects, not a shared project. Which Jen and I have a lot of shared projects. So, of course, we're going to simulcast them. But this is my channel only thing. Anyway, so... but tonight you guys voted on TNG, Star Trek, The Next Generation. And it feels appropriate considering we're mired in Kurtzman Trek at the moment, discussions right now. So it feels okay. And I do this every week. I get a chance every week to talk real Star Trek with Brad and Hitman and Fractured. We talk about DS9, but this week we're going to talk about its precursor, TNG. Now, Jed, I was there when it began.
The original series, yeah, I know.
No. TNG. I was a young lad. I was a young lad, and it's late 80s. We're over halfway through the original cast movies, and at that point, you don't think there's going to be any more Star Trek. You think you've got the original cast; they're aging out. We didn't know we only had 2 more movies at this point. You had 5 and 6 yet to come out, but you didn't think it was going to happen. No one thought about it. Not many Star Trek video games either. Not a whole lot. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Now, when I heard about this, I remember watching pilot for Encounter at Farpoint. I am still single digits. I'm not even a teenager yet. And I remember watching Encounter at Farpoint, the pilot, and being amazed, but not understanding everything. Because even though Star Trek is made in some way for kids and families, it goes over your head a little bit at times.
Yeah, it's appropriate for the family,
Mhm.
but intellectually, I'd say it's at least for middle schoolers or teenagers and up.
I was still in lower school technically at that point. I was not even a middle schooler yet. So it comes out, and I remember watching the first third of season 1, and then being a kid, I kind of lost interest because at that point also, man, this thing's on prime time. I still got to go to school all the time, and I didn't even understand at that point. I'm starting to understand channels. Cable is now really starting to take hold at this point. I don't even remember what channel it was on anymore as a little kid. So I don't want to say lost interest. I just kind of drifted away. But then there came a moment. We're coming up on, it's been 3 years or 3 years later, 2.5 years later into season 3. I remember I had just been watching Voyage Home again. And I thought to myself, man, I wish there was another story on where the probe came from in Star Trek 4. And then I remembered, hey, there's a TV show on. Maybe one day they'll do an episode where the probe came from. Now, there was a book called Probe, which I tried reading once young, and I never quite got more than a few pages into it. But my reason I came back to Star Trek Next Generation originally at the beginning of season 3 was because I thought, man, I'm going to see if they're going to do a episode on the probe. That would be cool. Now, of course, they never did. But that didn't matter at that point. I got back into it. And from season 3 on, I was there every week, watching it every season, all the way to the very end with all good things. And eventually in syndication, I went back and saw season 2 because I didn't see season 2 on its original air date. But from that point on, there I am watching Star Trek from there to DS9 Voyager every week, every year. And that's how I came to TNG, and it was a glorious run. I remember loving it. And then, of course, if Sam was here, he would point at me and say, when I say this now, of course, now these are my teenage years. TNG was my teenage years. So Deanna, Beverly, and the cavalcade of beautiful women that marched through TNG were very, very important to me. Very important to a young man realizing I like titties. I like beautiful women. So I really enjoyed Star Trek going forward because one thing Gene Roddenberry put into the DNA of Star Trek, at least real Star Trek, and imparted to those who took over, put beautiful women in Star Trek. Yes. All right. So that's how I got to TNG. Jed, how did you arrive at TNG?
My story with TNG is a lot less convoluted and complicated. It's rather straightforward, actually. So, as many people know, I didn't watch or interact with a whole lot of pop culture growing up. I wasn't allowed to, mostly. So, a lot of these things I came to later on in life. TNG, however, I got to earlier than most things besides Lord of the Rings. So, for some reason, I don't remember how we got our hands on it. If it was a gift from a grandparent or something like that. But we had a DVD 2-pack of Star Trek Generations and First Contact, the movies.
Okay.
So I don't know why we got them, but we watched them and we loved them. I didn't know, the context of Kirk or anything. I didn't understand why that was a problem in Generations or anything like that.
Until much later.
Until much later. Yeah, I was probably about 12 when we got those DVDs. So I watched those movies every now and then, really enjoyed those movies. And a few years later, I started to wonder, there's a TV show connected to this. I've heard of Star Trek mainly as a inverse to Star Wars. Just, are you a Trekkie or are you a Star Wars fan? That's kind of all I knew about it through osmosis. So when I was about 14, probably, this is 2014-ish, I decided to take a look and found out that TNG at the time was available on Amazon Prime. I had access to it, so I started watching it. And similar to you, I was a little bit young to really dive into it. I didn't have the background in science or anything like that to really get engrossed with the show. But I absolutely enjoyed it. I started going through, I think I nearly finished all 8 seasons at the time. I didn't quite get there, I know that, but I got very, very far. And that just made me really love the world. Then later on, when I became an adult, had access to whatever I wanted, I decided Star Trek is a franchise that I want to get into. So I went back and I finished TNG, loved it, watched all the TNG movies, varying responses to those. And it did take me several more years to watch the rest of Star Trek, though. I was probably 20, 21 by the time I decided, all right, I need to go watch the original series. I'd seen some of the original movies throughout the years, like Wrath of Khan, I definitely seen. So I marathoned from the original series through the animated series, through the original movies.
You did
TNG.
Oh, damn.
Through the TNG movies, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and even Enterprise. I did them all in a row in like 6 months when I was 21, 22-ish. And I loved it. I still haven't rewatched any of the other shows besides the original series and TNG. So I haven't rewatched DS9, Voyager, or Enterprise. And the movies are pretty sporadic how many times I've seen them. But yeah, I absolutely love Star Trek. I'm in the midst of a rewatch right now where I'm doing that again from the very beginning. I skipped the animated series this time because
it's okay. Yeah, the year 5 voyage is not important. It's
not that important.
It's
but
not even
I
canon.
did everything else up to this point.
Canon.
I've done the original series, done the original series movies, and I'm about start of season 5 in TNG in my rewatch right now. Okay. So every so often, it's just so massive. It's not like Doctor Who, New Who, or something like that where I can easily do that on a yearly.
Well, those
rewatch.
are 10 episodes a pop. We're talking full 24 episode seasons here.
So I have to space out my viewings of Star Trek as a franchise a lot farther than I do something like Doctor Who, but it's time around to do it again, and I'm in the midst of it. I think the only other thing to mention is as a kid, this was before we got the DVDs. I'd forgotten about this. Before we got the DVDs, I was probably 8 or 9. For some reason, from the library, we rented a VHS tape of one of the TNG episodes where the parasites that are in their stomachs infest Starfleet Command. Do you remember that?
Oh, that's season 1. That's season 1 penultimate episode. And yeah, that they had been teasing that one all. That had been a storyline they teased multiple times during the season, and then of course, it turns out that they've infested all the way to top of Starfleet Command, and that was supposed to have a carry on, but they didn't go through with it. If Brad was here, maybe if Sam was here right now, they could tell why. I don't remember the reason why they decided to go away from that, but that was supposed to be a continuing, an antagonist to come back. Yeah.
That episode as a kid, 8 or 9 or something, like scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I got to freak the fuck
out. The guy at the end blowing up with the queen inside of him.
I was a kid. I was a kid too when that came out, but I never got to that point because I tapped out early on. And I tapped out about like I said, a third of the way through season 1 when I was a kid. Come back years later, oh, this is badass and cool. I mean, now I have seen TNG all the way through. Oh, at least 10 times, maybe over that. And most recently last year, because you can see right behind me, there's my remastered Blu-rays. I plugged those in last year, did a full rewatch from Farpoint to All Good Things. It was glorious. I loved every second of it. Now, unfortunately, I have a disc that's missing because I broke one. Yeah, you guys hear this? I think I told this story on stream. It was a couple months ago. I just wanted to watch an episode of Star Trek. And because I was I was bummed out. I was like, I'm just gonna watch some Star Trek, feel good. And I opened up the case, and those cases are awful. They're terrible cases. And what I realized happened now, what I realized is that when I was lifting the folds, the sections, I pulled on one, not realizing it was not attached, and that's how it got cracked. Fortunately, it's a few episodes that are it's some season 4 episodes that are kind of trash. So I didn't lose anything.
If you're going to lose anything, yeah, those are good ones to lose.
Someday I'll have to somehow get a single season Blu-ray pack and replace that disc because that's the only way I'm going to replace it. That's it. But fortunately, the 4 episodes on there they're not great episodes, fortunately. I didn't lose an awesome Worf episode. I didn't lose an awesome Picard episode or any of the classic timeless ones that everybody comes back to. So fortunately, mitigated damage. I still feel bad because you know me. My collection is damaged now. And that eats it. It's a little tiny thing that eats at me. It's like it's imperfect. And that bothers me. So one day it'll get fixed. But yeah, I've seen TNG all the way through. Now, until I had it right there behind me, For years, it was through essentially syndication. And for a while, it was on Paramount Network, which became UPN. Then on Sci-Fi Network would run it all the time. So basically, it was just watch giant chunks throughout the week, and eventually see the whole thing. Same thing with DS9 and Voyager. That's how I've seen them so many times, just because years of syndication. And that's essentially what I would say is my Star Trek knowledge. I don't know every little facet. I just know whatever I've seen on every show, essentially.
Right.
That's what I know. And when you see it as many times as I have, I don't, you know, joke, I don't know episode titles, but you start talking about the episode, I'll know exactly what it is within a couple of seconds, because I know the content. Very rarely do I forget a little bit of that.
Well, but you've got a ridiculous memory as well, so that's helpful.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. It really is. There are things I wish I could forget.
I can understand that. I really hope someday that my understanding of Star Trek gets to the level of Doctor Who, because the older I get, the more I like Star Trek, and unfortunately, the less I like Doctor Who. Even like good Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The pendulum is swinging to Star Trek's side, and it's so disappointing that neither of these shows we're going to get anything good out of them for years to come.
No.
I do want to preface it, put this out there. Even when I was young and didn't know any better, like I mentioned with Generations, I didn't know what was wrong with Kirk dying in the way that he did.
You had no idea that was terrible.
No idea. I was just like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? Sure, I guess we can. I guess he's famous. Great. But when I did watch the JJ trilogy, I count it as the trilogy, even though that last one wasn't him. I knew there was something wrong with it, even though I hadn't seen the original series yet. I'd seen most of TNG by that point, by the time I got around to them, but not TNG, or not the original movies or the original. So maybe Wrath of Khan. I watched Wrath of Khan really early on its own, isolated from everything else, but I knew there was something wrong with those movies. They just didn't feel right, and they didn't feel good either. Like, I never got attached to those like I did anything else in Star Trek. And then I rewatched them after finishing TNG just to understand. Just to understand what was wrong with them. And I was a little bit older. I could articulate my thoughts on the writing better and everything like that. And God, I hate those movies.
Oh, they're terrible.
Especially Into Darkness. I think Into Darkness is the worst of the three. With the teleporter takes Khan from Earth to the Klingon homeworld.
That's because Jar Jar, like, now, all right, now, interesting aside, just to get back to the pository, it's a William Shatner thing that happened today. You probably might have seen it. Did you know that he has tweeted that he hopes that an executive order is made that makes Pluto a planet again?
I actually saw that during the intro of this stream.
Yeah.
I was scrolling on Twitter, and I just saw it a minute ago. But it's even funnier when you find out why. Do you know why?
No, why?
He's a fan of the anime Sailor Moon.
So am I.
Yeah, and it's because of that, though. Because of Pluto.
Hey, Sailor Pluto, dude. She's a woman. Sailor Pluto is a woman. That's a full-on woman right there. Anyway, but I love that he's like, can we make Pluto a planet again? And I hope that if that happens, that'll be so great, especially for you, because I know your stance on Pluto.
I don't really want the government to dictate scientific policy or stance.
But in this case, you'd make an exception.
I would probably make an exception for Pluto because it deserves it, man. Dwarf planets in general, they're just a different type of planet. Why are we demeaning them?
It's still orbiting. The system. Anyway,
did you know that if Earth was in the place of Uranus, let alone at Pluto's place, we wouldn't qualify as a planet? Location makes that big of a difference.
That's
Mercury
bullshit.
is only considered a planet because the sun is doing half the work of the definition for it.
I question our physicists.
The definition's dumb. Neil deGrasse Tyson, you were involved. I still blame you.
He's a dick. Anyway, so
I hate that man.
I know you do. Anyway, so back to Star Trek TNG. So once you get into it, it is essentially no different in format than TOS. It follows the same format, episodic. Rarely do you get any overarching stories. They happen on occasion, but they're usually character related. And one thing I think that TNG does better than TOS is flushing out the entire crew, because it wasn't until the movies where you got really more of the original crew, where they got to do more instead of it always just being Kirk, Spock, McCoy.
Those were the trio I was about to say.
Yeah. In TNG, the entire command crew, the entire bridge crew, the senior officer, the senior staff, they have all fully flushed out stories, character arcs, everything. And that I think that's one of the things that makes TNG so compelling. Is that
it's definitely more of an ensemble show. The original series feels like Kirk is the main character. All the stories revolve around him. Everyone besides him is supporting character. And that works absolutely. I love the original series. But TNG really feels like an ensemble because there are whole episodes where we don't focus on Picard at all. He just leaves sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's entirely about somebody else. So it really lets that crew dynamic flesh out. And I like that in a military setting is these are people trusting each other with their lives. They're exploring. So there's the camaraderie on the crew. I want to see that camaraderie on screen and care about that. So I would absolutely agree that it does better that way. And it's a better show for it. With the original series, how much do we get of Scotty besides the Jack the Ripper episode?
Not much.
He's there to say, I could do it in 2 days, sir. You have one. Oh, I'll do it. And then he does it. That's most
the miracle worker idea. And
miracle worker,
yeah.
And but the Jack the Ripper episode is really good, but that's the only one that really focuses on Scotty. And then the movies obviously do more, especially Voyage Home. I think we get the most Scotty.
Scotty's great. Computer. Hello, computer. Anyway, but yeah, so that's one of the things that does, in my opinion, and I say this only because of the amount of time and effort and money put into it and really working on the stories. We're a writer's room. I mean, TOS had some incredible, powerful stories. But TNG does it does it better overall. And Frank is right. Yes, Scotty's in command when Kirk is away. We've talked about that in other different types of streams talking Star Trek, but very rarely does we get more in command. There's no stories. There's no character work.
It doesn't feel like he's doing a whole lot besides warming the chair.
Whereas, let's just take his counterpart in TNG, Geordi LaForge, the blind man who's
going to go to. I think he was the original cast character who got developed the latest, except for maybe Worf. But
Worf's a slow burn over 7
He's definitely a slow burn, and they get to him, especially when they start getting the Duras family and his dad.
Worf across all of Star Trek, when you start in TNG, he has the greatest story of all. Worf is my favorite character. I love Worf. Worf is my number one. If we're taking captains out of the equation, we're not talking favorite captain. Worf is my favorite. I love everything Worf.
That's an excellent choice because he gets so much to do.
But so the Worf stories just grow and grow and grow, and they give Michael Dorn more to do. They give Worf more to do, and you get your Worf centric storylines. But Geordi starts off as he's a JG lieutenant in season 1. He's a red shirt JG lieutenant on command path because red is command path then.
Right.
And as it goes on, by season 2, when they in season 2, after they've gone through 4 or 5 different chief engineers of the Enterprise, season 2, Lieutenant Geordi LaForge is in charge of engineering by the time you get to the end of season 2.
It is a little abrupt, but they do a lot of great stuff with it.
Yeah. And you get Geordi, who becomes the modern day miracle worker, but he never gets called that just because you don't need to, because you see how hard he works and this and that. And also you have LeVar Burton, who is an outstanding actor, who was already a good actor before this. See, that's the thing about TNG. The thing about TNG is they had a mix of new actors and actresses, and then you had a guy like Patrick Stewart to anchor the whole thing. That was one of the keys to the glory of Star Trek. And then in general, TNG forward, you have to have an anchor, and it has to be your captain. And you have Sir Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard being your anchor. It gives the show gravitas. And then you surround him with other good actors. Now, up until that point, everybody else on the crew, with the exception of LeVar Burton, they were relatively at the beginning of their careers. They didn't have much else to it. Yeah, you have a cavalcade of guest stars as years go on, but Patrick Stewart was the only established stage and screen actor at that point. Everybody else is pretty new, except for LeVar Burton.
And they pretty much all went on to do great things, except for Michael Dorn, unfortunately. I haven't seen him in anything else.
Michael Dorn, I believe he's one of those guys I think took the route of just working in Hollywood, so much acting in. But also Michael Dorn he kind of stepped away for that. Again, I think we would need Brad here, and Sam might know this, do. Now, when they started doing more Star Wars, Star Trek gaming stuff, Michael Dorn was always involved if Worf was involved. They always brought him on to do Worf stuff because all Michael Dorn wants to do is have fun with Worf. That's all he wants to do.
He made the one role his life, and that's a good life.
Well, see that, and that's the thing, and that when you look at the Denise Crosby, who played Tasha Yar, who gets killed by Armis in season 1.
I actually love her death.
Oh, it's great.
I know that's controversial.
Well,
Skin
no.
Likes. I love the way it plays out.
Tasha deserved to die because Tasha was boring as fuck. But
she absolutely was.
But here's how important her death is. One, because it's how they wrote. Because Denise Crosby, I don't want to be pigeonholed as a Star Trek actor. Please kind of come back as a guest star later on. Please kind of come back because I went and did Red Shoe Diaries and it wasn't a success. But she gets killed, and they managed to turn her death into such a moment because her death is a pointless death.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point of the episode.
Instant, no fight, no bravery.
Nothing. Armis killed her for his own amusement. That's it. Nothing. And to torture Deanna. So once you get past Tasha, and it was actually great that Tasha left because that pushed Worf into a command position as chief of security. Then he goes from JG to full lieutenant in season 2. He's on a security path, and it's great, and tactical security, and it's great. And okay, all right, Legatus. We're not saying that Michael Dorn didn't have a career, but he loves. I mean, he along with a lot of other TNG cast members, he's had a storied voice acting career. You can catch him in video games and cartoons. Gargoyles is one of the. I remember when I was watching Gargoyles as a kid, when he showed up as Stone Cold. I was like, whoa! I recognize his voice because I would recognize Frakes and Sirtis as Thanatos and Demona. But then here came Dorn as Stone Cold. So yeah, he's done a lot of work. We're not saying it didn't work. He's just talking about no other major roles.
Yeah, it's not like Brett Spine or whatever. You always know him from Independence Day. And Sir Patrick Stewart from the X-Men and a million other things. Like there's not juggernaut face first role for him. The
thing is, Michael Dorn is beloved. And honestly, if we take it out of just the Star Trek thing in general, Michael Dorn is the only TNG actor outside of TNG that I love because all he wants to do is talk about Worf. He doesn't want to talk about anything else. He keeps his personal life, and I love him for that. I love him for it.
He does seem to be the most sane.
Yes. He just wants to.
You were talking about Geordi and his introduction. I'd like to mention the episode that really made me fall in love with him. He had, episodes focused on him before this, but he wasn't really a mainstay in the show for me, someone that I really cared about until the episode where he had to go to the holodeck program and recreate the original engineer for the Enterprise D.
Oh, wow. Leah Brahms.
That's season, Leah Brahms. I believe that's season 3. It might have been season 2 because she does come back.
No, it's season 3. It's season 3 because they've already changed uniforms. It's at least season 3 or season 4 because he's already changed uniforms. They're not wearing the onesie as Hitman likes to call it. The onesie is horrible.
I don't mind the onesie or the two-piece.
I hate the onesie because it has the line down the center of the uniform. I hate that. It drives me crazy.
I like the captain's tuck.
Well, we call that the Picard maneuver. It's the Picard maneuver. The other, the easy Picard maneuver, not the ship in the two places at once, which is badass. That's a maneuver. That's a maneuver. Unlike the Riker maneuver, which only works in the Briar Patch. It only works in the Briar Patch. Point is, so now Jordy's already had episodes at that point, but there aren't really focused. But of course, unfortunately, the first Leah Brahms episode leans into the Geordi joke, the Geordi meme of Geordi can't get a girlfriend. Geordi has problems with women and stuff like that.
Weird.
But he does. They turned it into a thing that Geordi has women problems. Now, of course, in the end of it, which is it's canon because in All Good Things, when he visits Picard in his wine at his winery in the pasture in the wine fields, the wine, what do you call it? I don't know. I don't make
vineyard?
wine. Vineyard. Thank you. You catch me when I fall. In the vineyard, in the at that time, that future, he mentions his daughters. Because Geordi does eventually get married to daughters, and those daughters do carry over. The Sydney LaForge and her sister are canon, and that's cool. So Geordi does get it together, but Geordi has some problems throughout the 7 seasons. So it's a meme and it's funny. And the Leah Brahms, that is the cringiest of all, because when real Leah Brahms comes around eventually,
right,
and
the next season,
she wanted to use the holodeck to check out the something for the Enterprise structure. It triggers the program, which Geordi had started falling in love with. And then she goes, "I'm married." He's like, "Oh."
I actually really like that episode as well.
Oh, they're great episodes, but it's cringe. It's like,
he's obviously gotten over the crush or whatever it was with the fake Leah Brahm and whatnot, but he still obviously cared about her, and seeing that the real woman confronting him, the fantasy versus reality was really interesting. Seeing that she's actually an uber bitch, and even the computer, which is advanced as all hell, couldn't recreate a person accurately. So it puts limitations on the world, which I really like. That really grounds it for me. The computer just didn't magic up a perfect copy.
Yeah,
it's majorly flawed and created in a way that the computer assumed Geordi would prefer it to be. So there is that little bit of customer satisfaction in the computer's mindset. And when it comes to the groundedness of the world, I don't know how you feel, but TOS versus TNG, it's night and day for me in realism. Because TNG, the science in TNG is actually far superior. It is fairly accurate for the most part, or plausible, believable. The original series is just kind of like space magic a little bit too much for my taste.
It's the 60s. They only had so much to work with in terms of science.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. I still love it and I understand it, but comparing the two shows, it's drastic. There's so many hand-wavy aliens in TOS. In TNG, it's mainly just Q.
Well,
and that's obviously explained.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, godlike aliens. That of course, TOS is the originator of godlike aliens, and when you get to TNG, I think Roddenberry, because he's on it. He's only got 4 years left of his life by the time they're doing this, and they slowly phased him out, and the rest of the guys took over. But I think they quickly realized, let's not have godlike aliens anymore. And of course, you mentioned him, Q. Q is one of the greatest players, played by the great John Delancey. That man is just when he plays bad guys, it's fantastic. But here's the thing, though: Q is not a villain.
No,
he's not even an antagonist. He's just Q. He makes things.
He's a child.
I don't know if a child is the right term, I would say, but I would say he is. If you're gonna, the way I would do that, he's a kid playing with his toys.
And that's exactly what I was thinking.
Or maybe take it a step further. He's running an experiment. Humanity is an experiment to him, and Picard is the main piece through it, whether Picard wants to do it or not. Unfortunately, Farpoint put Picard in that situation, and Q took a liking to him. I mean, he sees Picard as a pet of sorts. But before I go farther than that, Q is fantastic because you have this guy shows up once, maybe twice a season. There's always at least 1 or 2 Q episodes a season. And when Q shows up, you know you're getting something that's going to be series defining for either the lore or a character. Because, of course, Q kicks it off with Mission at Farpoint. But then he comes back, and it's a test of Riker's personality when he offers Riker a chance to become a Q and join the Continuum. And Riker, after all that goes on, he turns it down. Because I'm a human. I don't want this. But then, let's see. Q's going to come back again. Season 2. Oh, the Borg! It's because of Q that humanity encounters the Borg literally probably 2 centuries before they should have.
which caused a shitload of problems. But he doesn't care because, just like you said, he's a child playing with his toys, and there aren't any consequences until the one episode where he's forced to be human by Corbin.
Yeah, when when he gets made punishment for 74, I mean, it was just a temporary. That's the funny thing. It was just to teach him a lesson to see if he could change. And in a 1 second of having selflessness was all they needed for him to be reinstalled as a Q. But it was Q is just always fun. I mean, one of my favorite Q episodes is I think it's season 5, the Picard flashback episode. Remember, sometimes they blend together. Forgive me, so I know they'll come up with in the chat which one it was. Where we learn about Picard's. We already knew about it, but then we learn about Picard's history. There's an explosion. His artificial heart is damaged, and he says, "Well, man, gee, if I hadn't had this artificial heart, maybe I wouldn't be dying right now and have to spend eternity with you." And then Q says, "Oh, really? You want to play that game? All right, let's play that game. Let's see what happens if you don't pick a fight with Nausicaans over Domjot and get a Nausicaan Bowie knife through your chest." And what happens is it's a fantastic episode where you realize your actions define you, and it sets you on courses, and they have repercussions. And you learn that because Picard, as a wizened older man, makes the wrong choice as a young man, he can't become that wise older man because it was the choice to help his friend cheat against the Nausicaans who cheated them in the first place in Domjot to get into a fight. And by getting that knife through the chest, it took him to the edge, and it eliminated the fear that he would hold in his heart to be the explorer, the adventurer that Picard needed to be to get into where he was as captain of the flagship of the Starfleet and the Federation. And when he did that, when he chose to do the smart thing, oh, congratulations, you're 45-year-old JG Lieutenant Picard in science department on the Enterprise. You made it on the Enterprise, but when he talks to that Riker, he says, "Yeah, well, you've never shown initiative. I don't see a career track for you. Just you're good at what you do. Just know your role, stay in your lane." And then Picard realizes, without that moment where I was put on the edge of death, realizing that you have to take chances in life to get someplace, to really do great things. I didn't learn this.
He was confronted with his own mortality.
Yeah, that's it.
It just really showed him how finite life really is. I just see it as he dedicated himself to accomplish the most that he could. And then it birthed his ambition, just like you were talking about. It's essential for his character. And I love explorations of that type of stuff with characters, because every character and every person that you meet always says something like, "Oh, I wish that this didn't happen to me," usually a traumatic event or something like that. Like, I wish I would have gone to college at this point, or whatever it is. There's always regrets in people's lives. But in explorations like this, and just by sitting down and intelligently talking about it, even when time travel is not involved, you realize that you really are the person you are because of these events. And darkness shapes us as much as anything else. So I like that Picard's able to see this and make the same decisions going forward, but with that knowledge. I think that knowledge makes him a wiser captain, because before it was just instinct. He was making that decision of living life to the fullest off of instinct that he gained from that encounter. But after that, he excelled even further in those last few years of his career, with the board coming in and everything like that. And I think that really helped. Q, like chat is saying, like Legatus is saying, Q unintentionally helps make them all better people. Because it really helped a Riker stand out, because Picard was not a fan of Riker from his service record at first. Did not like him because, he what was it? Arrested his captain? What was the term?
Mutiny.
Yeah, he basically committed a mutiny before coming aboard the Enterprise, so Picard's obviously not okay with that. But because of the test with Q, he realized this man stood against Q, which I barely was able to do. Maybe he'll be a strong right-hand man for me.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, Legatus mentions Q. You mentioned Q helps in his own way. I don't think Picard would appreciate that, considering what happened as Locutus when he got assimilated.
It's true.
I mean, now that, of course, season 3 into season 4, 2 of the most epic episodes of all time.
But that still did help because it was with the Lakuta stuff that led to victory. And even in First Contact, they use he uses the knowledge he gains Lakutas to destroy the cube.
Here's the funny thing, and it always has to be understood. Every time the Borg come at Alpha Quadrant, they always just send a single cube. And I know we're not supposed to go outside TNG, but the Borg run a large swath of the Delta Quadrant. And if they ever came with more than one cube, they never took it too seriously with the Federation.
No, well, it is far away. The Delta Quadrant and the
transwarp,
are
the transwarp conduits help. The transwarp conduits
they do help, but they've got more immediate problems taking care of the Delta Quadrant because, as we see in Voyager, like you're mentioning, they're not all under the Borg's control.
No,
complete dominion.
Yeah, so and the Borg isn't looking for. Think of the Borg; they're not looking for dominion. They're just go where they decide it's something for assimilate. You can't understand the Borg. There's no real understanding, even though we have the Queen. A lot of people complain about the addition of the Queen. I don't. I like the addition of the Queen. I think we talked about that when we did First Contact on Drive-In. But I always like the addition of the Queen because it gives a central focus of the antagonist. Because the Borg are an antagonist, and the Borg are one of the greatest villains created because they're just they arrive and they don't give a fuck. Species 8472 is later. That's way later, Legatus. That is 8472 is not a factor during the TNG years because the Borg haven't gotten into fluidic space yet. So that's not even that is not a factor. And we're not really, as I said, we're not ranging that far. I just had to make the reminder of where the Borg are, the Delta Quadrant, and how always whenever it's a single cube. After Wolf 359, the Federation keeps putting up a better fight every time. But at the time, a single cube annihilated Starfleet. It took out 30, 40 ships at Wolf 359. And we get more of that with DS9. And it's because of that, again, that they start the Defiant project and stuff like that, which then comes to fruition in DS9 as well. But the Borg are just, they're so interesting because at this point in time, there's no stopping them. There's no real way to stop them. Although, here's another fascinating thing. Hugh. They have a moment to annihilate the Borg. If they put in the essentially feedback program into Hugh, which no equation, it would just build in the collective and annihilate the entire collective. And that's a Geordi episode. That's a Geordi episode where they find a damaged Borg drone, they resuscitate it, and through Geordi's interaction with him and a little bit of data too, this drone, who they end up calling Hugh, starts to develop individuality.
Which is just proof that they can be saved.
Yeah. And so
I really like the Borg, especially being Picard's villain more than anything else.
They are Picard's villain. Fuck Janeway.
But it makes the most sense for Picard and creates some really interesting dynamics, especially in First Contact, because Picard is the man of wisdom. He's an incredible soldier, tactician, and everything like that.
He's the diplomat.
He's an explorer.
He's the diplomat.
Exactly where I was going to go. He's the diplomat. He can always talk his way out of a situation with species like his own. He's always great at the negotiation table, figuring out what people want. But when the Borg, like you mentioned, don't really want dominion, they don't really want anything. It's just expansion for the sake of expansion, almost for a certain extent of it. So he can't be diplomatic with them. So his greatest tool in his arsenal is immediately disarmed. Where does he turn from there? How can he solve the situation? And it's brilliant the way that they go about it. And I really like First Contact with that kind of darker story that he goes on.
And that's the thing. He has to go to rage.
Them.
He goes to rage and anger for what they did to him. And the Picard speech at First Contact, the line used to run here. I love that speech. But with the Hugh thing, they have a chance right there to send him back. And Picard interviews him at one point. And in that, because he was all for it, he's like, fuck him. Let's fuck the Borg over once and for all. It'll be great. We'll all have a party. But then he interviews and realizes, oh shit, this is an individual now, and here's where the talks come on. Here's an individual, and I can't do this because I am a moral man.
He can't rage against a machine with a face. He can rage against a faceless one.
Yeah. So when you have, and that's just, and there's numerous Borg episodes throughout all of it. I mean, even so much when Lore starts to liberate the Borg with Hugh to make his own version of the Borg, so like that, and that of course we are jumping around here, guys. Only the two of us, so we're jumping around at random, and this is a general discussion. We're not locking in on any one thing, so it's one of those random go where the conversation takes us. But the Data is next to Worf, has one of the greatest, in my opinion, storylines of Star Trek. His search for humanity. And there are lines where the thing was, yeah, he's more human than most of us. And it's great. I love it.
Data is personally probably my favorite character, if not Picard, because of that arc. I love Spock, obviously, and a lot of people compare Spock to Data, especially
that was the original comparison because of how it was presented. Yeah,
I think it's more complicated than that.
Oh, it is
because Spock doesn't really want to become more human. He's always trying to strike a balance between what will serve his purposes best. And yes, he naturally becomes a little bit more human and creates these strong bonds with people like Kirk. Data is driven by that goal almost exclusively when it comes to personal endeavors. Like, he's still going to do his duty and everything like that. But when it's his personal time, it's about trying to be as normal as possible. So I see them as similar, but entirely disconnected. And Data's not a ripoff of Spock. I've actually heard that.
No, he's not.
Don't like Data because he's just a ripoff of Spock.
That's tourist mentality. It's tourist mentality.
And Spock was the bridge between the two species, and he remained the bridge, only evolving a little bit towards the human side over the course of the show and the movies. Data was cold, calculated, opposite of a human who grew into being something so much more alive than us. Like you were saying, his thirst for life was greater than anybody else's because he didn't have it. So just the way that he looked at the world so optimistically without the capacity for optimism.
Think about his introduction. Riker goes on the holodeck in Farpoint, looking for him. And Data's just trying to whistle. And whistle requires, you could functionally do it, but it requires, for lack of a term, a little bit of a soul. And him and Riker react, and it's just they whistle, and his first line is with his fascinating. And that's where people I want to think say, oh, he's like Spock. No, it's not. But right there, that's Data just trying. And in many ways
benefit. Whistling's not going to help him do his job better. It's irrelevant.
It's the experience.
To his duties.
It's the experience in that. And it gets and from there on, Data just grows and he grows and the Data storylines are always the most human ones when you think about it.
With his daughter?
Oh, Lal. The creation and death of Lal is so, and of course you have that Starfleet admiral who was there to take her from him, because at that point we're far enough along where Data has defeated every attempt to be taken as just a property of Starfleet. Because the great episode where Pinocchio's strings have been cut and Riker used the information.
That's my favorite episode of Star Trek, period. Measure of a Man.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that moment where Riker says that, now see his strings cut, and turns them off. Because I love courtroom drama, so this balances out science courtroom drama with philosophical discussions. And it makes you think, if we weren't attached to Data as a person, as a character, obviously we have feelings towards him, liking him and whatnot, but could we really say that we would ever be okay with an artificial life form being called alive and the equivalent of a human life? That's a hard thing to do without the bias of Data.
That's why the episode is so important, because we're looking at it through both sides. The guy who's there doesn't understand, but Data's already been on board the Enterprise for 1.5 years at this point, and he's formed bonds and connections with the crew and his friends. And Riker, who considers himself Data's friend, that it's such a fascinating thing, because he had been, everybody knows about Data's weak point after the first Lore episode, where the switch and kind of stuff like that Data has an off switch. And Riker knows that, and Riker was told, you either put forth the best defense possible, or I'm just going to rule summary judgment and give him to Starfleet. So Riker has to do
modern Star Trek. You'd be like, I don't want to do that.
No, but Riker does his
the
job.
Moral thing to be as awful as he could.
And Data says, if you hadn't been the best you were in here, I would be over. And Riker says, I can understand if we're not going to be friends anymore. And Data says, but you were my friend because you made sure that the process went through all the way. We're okay, Commander. We're fine. And I can't get angry because I have no emotions. And you got to give Brent Spiner credit. All those years of just deadpanning his Data and the occasional lore episode or other stuff where he gets to break out of the mold a little bit, the performance is fantastic all the time. To just have to keep that deadpan humor the whole time and find ways to emote without emoting.
And the lenses he had to wear.
And that's why he wanted to stop being Data towards the end, because it was too much now. The makeup and the lenses all the time. He couldn't do it anymore. It was starting to become physically a problem. And yes, OG.
Which is fair.
OG, yeah. He was Tasha's personal vibrator which is also that the Naked Now is just the parallel to the TOS episode. Now, that as a kid, because that was one of the episodes I did see in my original watching. I'm like, wait a minute, that's TOS. They're talking about TOS. I know that. I know Star Trek. Oh, look, they're talking about Kirk. That made it fun. But you have to realize that is early on homage, and it's done well. And people want to talk about seasons 1 and season 2 of TNG being such a slog. Not really. Not when you can have it.
I wholly disagree with that. Like, yes, the show gets better, but it's not at a bad starting point.
I mean,
I would love to watch Measure of Man beginning of season 2.
That's season 2. You have Measure of Man. It's season 2. You have the introduction of the Borg in season 2. How can you call it a slog? How can you say, oh, TNG doesn't really find its footing to season 3 when you have incredible episodes like that? And I can say that having just done DS9 seasons 1 and 2, there are not as many powerful episodes of DS9 season 1 and 2 as you have in TNG seasons 1 and 2. When you compare some epic quality episodes, they're just not there. But in TNG, you have these powerful, great episodes.
And Encounter at Farpoint is a great pilot.
Oh, great start.
Hear anything differently? Yeah, I'm not a fan of people dismissing TNG in the overall Star Trek pantheon because they didn't think seasons 1 and 2 were as good as 6 or whatever random one. There are some DS9 original series purists that it's sad to me. Like I love all the different Star Treks pre-2005, and TNG is my personal favorite. But even though I like you said, I don't think I'm a little bored at the beginning of DS9. I'm not going to dismiss it.
And yeah, and having just done it with 2 fresh to DS9 people with Hitman and Fractured, it's a struggle for people. It is. And I remember the struggle when I was a teenager. I remember the struggle of DS9 seasons 1 and 2, almost quitting until the final events of season 2, which reinvigorated my interest. And then season 3, we're off to the races.
And DS9, you can forgive it for trying to find its mold because it had active competition with TNG when it came out, and people loved that. And it was becoming a very different show with it being around the space station.
They were doing something different.
Star Trek didn't apply.
And the problem is,
build the formula.
You say that they were trying to apply the standard Star Trek formula to DS9, and it wasn't working. Go and watch. If you go to Brad's channel, Duke Devil 95 is in the chat right now. If you go to his channel, the episodes of Wormhole Watch are up. If you watch us talking about seasons 1 and 2, we make those comments that, look, here's an episode where they're trying to apply the standard Star Trek episode format structure, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Where TNG, the TOS method works. New planet, new threat every week, new thing to explore here and there, and it always ends up with somebody saving the day or learning something new or this or that. Now, the one thing TNG never quite got right is the day off episode. He never quite got the, okay, let's have this not be a threat to the ship, or they're on a world that's in danger and then we're helping out. They never quite figured out. My favorite one that could have gone that way. Now, of course, it does birth a great antagonist in Moriarty, but when Data wanted to be Sherlock Holmes, that should have just been a casual episode. I've always thought that.
That would have been a great episode on its own, because I love the little sides like Dixon Hill. Those asides are really good in the holodeck. The holodeck is a wellspring of great storytelling that they use in TNG.
And
I
when
love
you
the
are
holodeck.
a teenage boy, the holodeck, when Barkley does what he did with Deanna and Beverly, all you can think
You
is
kind of understand it.
you completely understand it.
I do it too,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would do it too. I would do it too. I would just erase the program when I'm done. Then again, I also wouldn't have holodeck addiction.
Yeah, it can be taken too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, the slice of life episodes, there are ones that, like you mentioned with Moriarty, they get close, but they never quite deliver it.
Because
There's
suddenly
always
there's a threat.
huge stake. Yeah,
Or
the
the Dixon
stakes
Hill.
go too high.
You mentioned the Dixon Hill. When they go in there, there was a problem with the Enterprise. They ran into something and they got stuck in there. And one of the guys that went with Picard and Beverly in there gets shot with a holographic bullet. And that's how, see, we can understand it could have been an easygoing slice like episode, but that was also teaching us the rules of the holodeck. That if a holodeck goes wrong, a holographic bullet could be as deadly as a real bullet if the safeties are turned off. But the holodeck convention, the holodeck gets used in great ways. The addition of a holodeck is fantastic because it allowed for a lot of different storytelling options or things you could do, and just the fun. And we haven't gone through every character because once again, this is a general discussion, and we're only going to go for a little bit longer. So only two of us. I do not think Sam is going to be joining us. He hasn't said anything, but I guess he got caught up. He caught up doing something else. So we're not going to go for too long. Also, I'm hungry because I broke the thing in the kitchen and the glass everywhere. I didn't eat dinner yet. I'm hungry. Anyway, and listen, we're gonna come back. As with Stargate, the previous Nerdgasm, these are just kind of the introductory things. Next time we'll come back and have a pure character focused one or something like that. Let's talk about the bridge crew. Let's talk about the main players.
You could talk about Worf and
we could do a whole episode of this on just Worf.
Easily.
Because talk about a Klingon orphan raised by Russian parents on Earth, whose adopted brother is Paul Sorvino, and his yearning to become the perfect Klingon. But in doing that, as said repeatedly, Worf, when they say Worf, you are, when it comes to honor, you are the perfect Klingon with your beliefs of honor, brave, and warrior. But you've gone so far that way, you've forgotten what it's like to have fun as Klingon. Because Klingons are rough and tumble and honor and bravery and all that kind of fighting warrior. But Klingons know how to party. Klingons know how to have fun and war. That's the thing about Worf, is when you get to the Klingon Civil War and all that kind of stuff, you learn he doesn't know how to have fun. And he has to learn how to have fun. And Worf and now time goes on, Worf finds his own fun. Worf is always going to be a little bit of stick in the mud, but he finds his own fun. And I know
Jadzia.
Listen, we would all have fun with Jadzia. We would all have fun. And of course, we are now going to outside PNG, but swords are fun. Swords are fun.
The Batleth is a great invention.
I prefer the Mek'leth. I've always found the Batleth to be an awkward type of Klingon sword, but they had to come up with something. And that's, I mean, again, if Brad was here, he would have the perfect story of why they did Batleth. See, Brad is our encyclopedic knowledge of these little things. He knows this stuff because he literally has the encyclopedias that he goes to look this shit up. So Brad knows that stuff about why they went with the Batleth. I believe I know the story though. Brad has told me this. Because of the ratings and the censorship, they weren't allowed to have swords on the show. So they designed a Klingon sword, the Batleth, that didn't look like a sword, but was a sword. So I believe that's the origin of the Batleth. The network wouldn't allow them to have a real sword, even though you see swords later on. By season, when Worf kills Duras in season 3, and I recently rewatched that episode. I did a little like mini Worf night for myself, and I watched a couple of my favorites. When Worf kills Duras is using a sword, a real sword. But Worf, he is a master. He is champion standing when it comes to Batleth, and that is just great. And so they fight, so it can be used, but they use swords. But in the beginning, seasons 1 and 2, season 1 especially, they couldn't have swords, so they had to make something that wasn't a sword, and the
Right.
batlet was created.
It's a
Now,
weird rule, but they did.
it was
great
for
with
network.
it.
It was for network. They
Mhm.
couldn't do that stuff. That was a foil. OG. A foil is different than that. We're talking Klingons and swords and stuff like that. And we'd had the daggers up to that point.
He did have a fencing sword in that one
Yeah.
episode that he was swinging around.
Well, that was
back when Sulu was straight.
that was the episode of The Naked Now where he was lost his mind during that. So but Worf and his story, it's great. I mean, the two best storylines are Worf and Data when you talk about character development, because everybody else has their stuff, but you look at Riker. What's Riker's story? He's a man whore. That's his story. He's a man.
Riker gets fairly consistent, and once they figure him out, obviously there's a little trial and error in season 1. Still great, but he matures. We'll
beard
as he matures.
The beard
helps. I love that the beard was an accident. Like, it wasn't a plan.
Yeah, and then of course, Deanna episodes are terrible. We can all agree Deanna episodes are terrible. They're not
except
good.
for Skin of Evil.
Yeah, okay. But Deanna episodes it's generally Deanna gets mind fucked. Oh no. Beverly really has very few stories, although when she does have a story, they're great, especially when they intersect with Worf. With the spinal surgery episode. That's a fantastic episode, and that's where we get in the lore that Klingons have redundancy systems in their body. No, not 2 dicks. Fuck you, Kurtzman Trek, but they have redundancy systems.
Kurtzman Trek established 2 dicks?
Klingorks have 2 dicks. Klingorks have 2 dicks in Discovery, yes.
See, I didn't watch like anything of Discovery. I couldn't stomach any of
Neither
it.
did I.
But
this is information by osmosis that I have.
Okay. Well, when it comes to Beverly, she is one of the most accurate representations of a woman in any show ever, though. Did you know that?
Hot redhead.
Well, specifically from that episode where she gets stuck in that kind of collapsing bubble universe because of the warp drive experiment Wesley's making.
Fucking Wesley. I would like to remind you, fuck Wesley Crusher. There.
Fuck Wesley.
Crusher.
The show's so much better when he leaves.
Oh, they tried so hard in season 1 and 2. In season 1, Wesley Crusher, boy genius all over the fucking place. Then they realized, wait a minute, shit, this ain't working. Run away. All right, keep going.
They ran away fast. But in that episode, with Beverly's in that pocket universe, it's collapsing. Everyone's acting weird around her, slowly disappearing. And I just love the line that she has there near at the end. It's like, if there's nothing wrong with me, the problem must be the universe. The most accurate representation of a woman.
Yeah, but Beverly just is usually support character, so she gets very few personal episodes. Although when they do, they usually involve
Picard stuff.
Well, her Picard stuff in the later years is great because they took forever to get there. Now, early on in season 1, you can see the attraction is there, but Picard we don't know at the time that Picard is suppressing it, that he's doing everything under his power to not act on his feelings for her because he feels like it's a betrayal.
He wants to be professional and guilty.
Well, he also thinks it's a betrayal to Jack Crusher. He feels it because he feels like he got Jack killed is the problem. But also he's suppressing it completely.
Did he get Wesley killed too?
Eventually he did, I think. Well, not him, but Wesley did eventually die. I don't know. Fuck Wesley. You know, hang on. I have it here. It's here. I have it saved right here as part of the sounds. Where is it? Yeah, here it is.
Shut up, Wesley.
Yeah, I keep that around. That's on my built-in sound deck for this. But anyway, yeah. So that's one of my biggest regrets in TNG is the unexplored Picard Beverly relationship, which Terry Matalas, followed through on, which is one of the reasons I like Picard season 3, because Terry Matalas tied up a lot of loose ends that they wish the season had done. And when they do it, it's great. And they wish they'd done it more. They didn't really go near it till towards the end. I mean, Beverly even fucked Riker when he had a Trill inside him.
That's right. The Trill were introduced because of her.
Yeah,
I think that was a good Beverly episode.
It was because can you love a person besides this? And she's like, no, I'm straight. I can't love you. And now, of course, that's before they started creating Trill lore. So that is actually a bad Trill episode in the end because they changed the lore of the Trill, also the design of the Trill. But then, of course, she can go to Deanna and say, hey, we're Rod sisters. Yeah, I said it. I said it. They are. She had sex with Will when he had that.
Eskimo sisters, yeah.
Yeah. She had sex with Will when he had a Trill in him. A Trill symbiote.
She's not going to go full Jadzia, though.
No.
Lesbian kiss.
I ranted on that today. Did you see that? I ranted on that.
A little bit of it. I mean, I've seen you talk about it on Twitter before.
Well,
I don't know if it was on Daily Dive.
I did it today when I did talk about it. You guys can go watch that video. It's clipped out about the Starfleet Academy lesbian couple. When complaining about that or countering our complaints, the activist fan base of Star Trek, who are large, they exist. We see them all the time. Their defense is that Dax kissed a woman. That's all they ever have when we complain about that. But no, Dax kissing a woman it's out of context. That entire episode is about how Trills should not have romantic relationships with people from their past. And that's Jadzia learning that lesson. And then Ezri doesn't learn that lesson until late into season 7 of DS9. Because it's an important lesson about that kind of stuff. But no, it's all about just the gay kiss for these people. That's all it's about.
Yeah, because they equate that to woke, and that's not the same thing.
Yeah, the important thing about Star Trek, and TNG started it. TNG brought it back. TOS had fantastic, poignant episodes about the issues of the day in the 60s. But TNG had more time, as we're far away from these things, to then give us broader episodes on all these things and always do what Star Trek is supposed to do. That is one of the things TNG does so well. Give you the entire argument of all sides and not beat you over the head with which side is right. It's let us talk about it. Let us discuss it. Unless it's clearly somebody's a bad guy. Fuck the Ramis. Fuck the Ramis. But we're going for about an hour. And we, like Jed said, we can go so many different directions on this. But this is more of an introduction. I wish we'd had more people show up, but Brad had work to do. Sam obviously could not make it. And out of our immediate discussion base of people who we stream with, not a lot are that into Star Trek. Honestly, they're not. It's very few. Man, I put the link out there for Hitman and for Fractured, but obviously they're on a different time zone than we are, so I don't think they could make it tonight. But
there is a certain intellectual threshold to be a fan.
Yeah. Well, you know what we found out last week? That Dermy likes Voyager.
I like Voyager too.
I tolerate Voyager because the Borg belonged to Picard, not Janeway. That was one of the biggest sins of Voyager, giving Janeway the Borg.
Yeah, they should have gone to a different quadrant.
But you can't go to the Gamma Quadrant because that's already DS9's territory. All that's left was the Delta Quadrant. That's all that was left.
And that the Borg are connected to that. So
yeah, so you had to, but you could have not made it the central theme all the way to the end, which they did. The entire finale of Voyager is Borg. It's the entire finale. Fortunately, Terry Matalas also did kind of retcon that a little bit, which I'm glad he did. Anyway, yeah, we can keep going, but in all reality, I'm also very, very hungry right now. I'm very hungry, and I do need to. I do want to shut up because I have to get ready for my Academy review tomorrow. Anyway, all right, Jed, you have any last thoughts? Remember, guys, we will be coming back to this on a future episode, so don't worry. This is not the last we're going to talk about TNG.
Oh, no, just in general, TNG is one of my favorite television shows of all time. I think it's peak Star Trek. It's the pinnacle of thought-provoking television. Just like you were saying, it asks the questions, poses the situations, and lets us figure it out. Obviously, the characters come to their own opinions and solve those situations as they will, but they often have competing opinions, and they don't really demonize each other for them. So if nothing else, it's a great example to live by for how to approach situations like this in your day-to-day life. And that's the most political it gets, is saying this is how you should operate in a political setting, in a personal setting, in a social setting, is just be open to understanding the people around you. And I think that's done very, very well. And in general, Star Trek's future is a future that I love more than any other science fiction show out there. It's so hopeful and optimistic that it's not just a science fiction show. TNG is a goal that we should be striving for. It's a future we want to have, and I think there are ways that we can get closer to it, but I don't think we're sticking to the mark as well as we could. But yeah, TNG is absolutely a show every adult should watch for a myriad of reasons. it's must-see television.
Here's the thing. I am both a Star Wars fan and a Star Trek fan. I love it all. But I love them for different reasons. I love Star Trek. I love Star Wars because it's a fantasy adventure that is beyond the norm. I love Star Trek because we can have discussions like this. I love Star Trek because of the characters. I love it because of the thought-provoking, as you said, and it makes it interesting. And also because it represents all levels of the discussion. I mean, just one more thing. And sometimes it can Star Trek can get preachy just like anybody else, but they still find a way to make it entertaining. And when they do, you can point and say, "Okay, this is crap." There are bad episodes of TNG. They're few and far between, but every season has its stinkers. And maybe one day we'll do an episode of this, our most hated TNG episodes. I mean, the sky's the limit. So I look forward to bringing back Nerdgasm, another TNG Nerdgasm. But next month, we have another choice for you guys. So go over to the post section on my YouTube channel. There's a poll running right now. It'll run for the next 3 weeks or so, where you guys can choose what we do next month. You got Farscape, Doctor Who, Pokemon, or James Bond. So do that. And so what I want to choose, what I want to try to do is not make sure that anything on the previous poll shows up on the next one, so that it gets keeps getting shuffled. So that it's like, oh, now I'm gonna make up for that not getting last time. No, it's a fresh one. So maybe on the next time around, we'll get another Star Trek one. It will be TNG Q episodes. Let's talk all the Q episodes, something like that. Because going forward, when we do one of these for the first time, it's a general discussion. But when it comes back around, then it's a focused discussion, so that we don't range all over the place and we have a more intense, detailed discussion. Debates might happen, arguments might happen. We're nerds. It's going to happen anyway. So thank you, Jed, for being here. Jed, what do you got going on this week?
Well, everyone can find me on YouTube at Endless Frontiers, just gaming whenever I get a chance. Haven't had a lot of time in the last week or so because there's a lot going on in my life right now. But I'm going to try to stream some Witcher 3, The Last Wish, and I might end up just playing The Witcher 3 in general if the rumors of the new DLC are true.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that, have we? We haven't had a chance to talk about that.
They're not super corroborated, but they're believable. It is a believable rumor, and being in Zerrikania would be very interesting. You'd get your actual good excuse for diversity, because it's basically the Sahara Desert is Zerrikania. So a lot of dragons will be in it. If it's in Zerrikania, they are dragon heavy species, real dragons, not wyverns or stuff like that. But that could be interesting. But yeah, gaming that whenever I get a chance. What is it? Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. Starfleet Academy review live stream on Saturday, and Saturday Night Drive-In at some point a little bit later than that. Don't have the times nailed down for everything.
Yeah, we're a little bit of a flux here with the schedule shifting to fit in the Where No Man Wants to Go review. Anyway, as for me, thank you everybody for being here. Remember, you can check out my review tomorrow at some point for Starfleet Academy episode 3. Then as well, we've got Where No Man Wants to Go reviews on this channel and Jed's channel every Saturday right now at 6 p.m. Eastern, and other live streams and videos and stuff like that every Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Daily Dive, the Double Ds, where I hope you guys show up and join in the fun there. So thank you everybody for joining us. We wish we'd had a larger panel. Wish we could go a little bit longer, but I'm going to be selfish and go eat dinner because I'm hungry. So thank you all for being here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, take it easy.